Okay, this is lesson 35 for Algebra 2. Should say Algebra 2 up here. Okay. Multiply and divide rational expressions. Your goal for today. Students will multiply and divide rational expressions. I'm putting them together because multiplying and dividing is the same thing. Okay. So, we call these expressions rational because the key word in rational is ratio. And if you remember from your pre-algebra and algebra days, a ratio is like a fraction. It's something over something. Okay? So it's a numerator over a denominator. And recently, we've talked about how we could have binomials. Right? Two sets of polynomials. One over the other, and we talked about how to simplify them, right? So this is a ratio. This is a numerator divided by a denominator. Okay, we talked about simplifying. So this is a rational expression. Okay, we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing rationals. So let's take a step back into, I think it was 6th or 7th grade math. Here we go. Okay, when we multiply fractions, okay, for instance, this one, the first thing you want to do is you ask yourself, oh, I'm multiplying, so can I simplify? I can cross multiply or cross simplify. So does 1 go into any of these numbers? Well, it goes into all of them. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. Then I multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. So our answer would be 1/3 if this was our multiplication problem. This is our review. You should all know this already, okay? If you're dividing fractions, it would be 1/2. Let's say you're dividing 1/2 by 3/4. Okay? The first thing you need to do is recognize, oh, this is a division problem. Therefore, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. I'm going to change this division sign to a multiply sign. And then you change this fraction into its reciprocal or multiplicative inverse. Multiplicative inverse. Let's all say multiplicative inverse. This is another word for reciprocal that you should know. Okay? So, we just multiply by the reciprocal. Same thing as before now. You just ask yourself, can we simplify? What goes in the 4 and 2? Oh, 2 does. It goes in twice, and it goes in once here. Can't simplify anymore. You multiply across. Numerator times numerator. 1 times 2 is 2. Denominator times denominator. 1 times 3 is 3. So you get an answer of 2/3 in this example. Okay? So this is our review. So I would like you to discuss with each other a quick review of how to multiply and divide fractions. Ready, set, go. So what we're doing, we're applying these concepts of multiplying and dividing fractions into rational expressions. Okay, so we're going to multiply one rational expression with another one and divide as well. Okay, so these are your steps. They should be written down. Okay, and here we go. Number 1 and 2, just watch right now. Pencils down. You should watch, okay? Watch, watch, watch. Number 1. Okay, the first thing I would do as a math person or math student is I would look and I'd see what's the operation. We have one of these fractions and we have a multiply sign in the middle. You see that multiply sign there with another fraction, okay? So I know I'm going to need to simplify first, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is ask myself, okay, since I'm multiplying, I don't need to flip it, I'm going to factor each area. So this first numerator becomes x minus 7. I can't factor it anymore. Then I look at my second numerator, it's x minus 5. So I'm going to factor that. Can't really factor that, so it's going to be x minus 5. So these are my first two numerators. This is my first fraction and second fraction. Now look at my first denominator. I ask myself, oh look, a 4 goes into both of these. So it's 5 minus x. Now, when I look at that, I have a clue here that, oh look, there's x minus 5 here, and then there's 5 minus x here. Since that's the case, I'm going to take a step back and not take out a positive 4, but take out a negative 4. So that negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20. Okay? Now I have a common factor because I planned ahead because I know those are going to cancel out. I'm sorry? Okay. And then the 3, of course, you can't factor any of that. Okay? Then now I'm ready. I factored everything. Then I have a good clean picture of what I could simplify. Okay, x minus 5 divided by x minus 5 is 1, right? These two cancel out. I simplified to 1 and 1. Nothing else gets simplified, so I multiply numerator times numerator. So x minus 7 times 1 is x minus 7. And then we have our denominator, negative 4 times 1 times 3 is negative 12. Okay, and anything divided by, or positive number divided by a negative number, right? The numerator is positive is going to be negative x minus 7 over 12. Okay. And I forgot to do one really important thing. I forgot to find my excluded values. So my excluded values, I should have done that first. Apologize. Look at my numerators. We have our initial numerator, or denominator, I'm sorry. We have 20 minus 4x at the top right here. So I'm going to take that, make it equal to 0. Add 4x to both sides. We get 20 is equal to 4x. Divide by 4 on both sides. So x is equal to 5. And this is an excluded value, so it's not allowed to be equal to that. If I made 3 equal to 0, there's no variable here, so I don't need to find an excluded value there because there's no variable there. So your final answer will be this, semicolon, x cannot equal to 5. Okay? All right, number 2. Watch me do this one carefully. Here we go. First step. Ask myself, what are the excluded values? Okay, excluded values. There's a first denominator here of m minus 3, so I'm going to put m. I gotta do this off to the side so I have a little bit of room here. So m minus 3 cannot equal 0, so add 3 to both sides. We got m is not equal to 3. We don't want to have 3 as m. Okay, that's one of my excluded values. We also have this other denominator here, 7m squared minus 56m. Make that equal to 0, so we do is 7m squared minus 56m equal to 0. Factor out of 7m, so this could be m minus 8 is equal to 0. Zero product properties, 7m is equal to 0, and m minus 8 equals to 0. So m shouldn't equal to 0, and m shouldn't equal to 8. Okay, these are all excluded values. This is step 1. This is all, excuse me. This is all excluded values. Okay, step 1. Step 2. We want to, if it's a division sign, we flip the product by setting up the fractions as a multiplication problem. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to factor the first equation, or the first rational expression. 1 over m minus 3 is already factored. Each, the numerator and denominator is already factored. Then change the division sign to a multiplication sign. Okay. Then the first numerator here, or second numerator here, is m minus 8. Can't factor that anymore. And instead of putting in the numerator, we're going to put it in the denominator. So we got m minus 8 in my denominator. And then this denominator now becomes a numerator. It needs to be factored. We already factored it down here, right? You'll see that? 7m times m minus 8. So instead of rewriting it again, let's just skip a step. We'll just go 7m times m minus 8. Okay, it's all factored out. Simplify. Next step. Simplify anything we can. So we could simplify m minus 8 divided by m minus 8 is 1 and 1. Okay? Can't do anything else, so we multiply across. 1 times 7m times 1 is 7m. m minus 3 times 1 is m minus 3. Can't do anything else, so we write our final answer as 7m over m minus 3, semicolon. M is not allowed to be equal to, or it's an excluded value of 0, 3, and 8. Box your final answer, and that's it. Okay, questions? Yes?
You just said that when there's a 2 up there, like 7m squared, they only have 2 answers. So I did 3 for that one.
There are 2 answers, because there's a m. There's one here. This is m minus 3 is one of them, and then there's 2 here. One of them is 0, and one of them is 8. Yeah. Yeah, this is one answer, and you're right, there's two answers here, right? So that's 3 total excluded values. Good question. Okay, so I'd like to have the 1s tell the 2s how to do number 1. 2s tell the 1s how to do number 2. Ready, set, go. Okay, continuing on. What I'd like you to do is number 3 here. Okay, number 3. I want you to just go to step 1. Tell me the excluded values first. Excluded values. Do not finish the problem. I just want you to tell me k cannot equal to whatever it is. Okay? Denominators with a variable here. So we take k minus 1 equal to 0. So k cannot equal to 1. Okay, that's your excluded value. Now finish off the problem, please. Finish off the problem.
You only do that if you have a denominator like that.
Yep, when you have a denominator with a letter, you need to find an excluded value.
So if it's a division problem,
But,
it's probably like if this was a division problem, it could be.
yeah, you'd have to do it again later. Okay, so in this example, we have to factor the numerator here. You can't factor 1, so it's already factored. K minus 1 times the second numerator. You could factor out a 2, so it's going to be 2k plus 2. Okay, denominator is 2. Then you simplify. We know 2 goes into 2 one time, so each of these cancels out. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. We can't cancel anything else out, so we have 1 times 1 times k plus 2, so it's going to be k plus 2. Denominator k minus 1 times 1 is k minus 1. Semicolon. K cannot equal to our excluded value of 1. That's it. Okay, number 2, I want you to tell me your number 2 or 4. I'm sorry, number 4 now. I want you to tell me the excluded values. You're going to have 2 excluded values here. It should be 4, but they're repeats. Okay. So you should give me an answer. It should say R is not equal to 2 different ones. Okay. It's a new problem. Okay. Here we go. Excluded values. No cats. Excluded values. Answer should be the following. You should have R squared over R plus 1, semicolon. R is not allowed to be equal to our excluded values or 0 and negative 1. Okay? I want you to skip over to 6. I want you to do number 6 now. Number 6. Here's your hint. Remember, you are factoring each numerator and denominator. This first one is going to be 2 times n times n. This first denominator is going to be n plus 1. Okay. Shh. Then this second numerator is going to be, we know that 2 goes into each of this, and n. So 3 times n is going to be 6n squared plus 8. Denominator is going to be 2 times n again times 3n plus 8. Finish it up. Okay, let's go. Okay, so your final answer is going to be 2n over n plus 1. Your excluded values, n is not equal to negative 1, 0, and 8/3. Or I'm sorry, negative 8/3. Okay, 3 excluded values. That's it. Okay.